What is going on, everybody? This is the Heart Pirates TCG, and I have made a deck list that I think is so good. And I played it, tested it out today at my locals. I went 4-0, so I'm taking a quick break from the Crocodile and playing something that I also really like a lot. I'm a very control-minded, defensive-minded player, so Film Doffy has always been a deck that I really enjoyed. And however, this deck is not as defensive as my last variant of it, and I will show exactly why. So, without further ado, let's talk about this deck list. Now, keep in mind, I will, since this is the first. Sorry if you guys hear that background music or background noise, but I will be changing a couple things throughout the format because this is the first kind of like sample of how it played, and there are some cards I noticed that were like never really alive with the variant of the deck that I want to play. And I'll point those out. So I'm playing 2 sugar. I used to say you should never play less than 4 sugar, but right now we're not really too worried about law. All of the matchups that we're really like kind of worried about, it doesn't really like help that much. So I think 2 is good because like you still want to have it. You know, it's, you know, at worst it's a 1K counter, but you know, I might want to play more. I'm not sure. We'll see how the format kind of ends up. But we're playing 2 sugar, and then we're playing 10 2K counters. We're playing the most important one, which is Buena Fiesta, which searches your film characters. Then we're playing 4 chopper in case a Law or Zoro decide to come back, and we still have like, you know, at least like a little bit of resting potential, which is why I think like I was only playing 2 sugars, is because like the matchups where I'd play sugar, I have 4 chopper as well. So it's like I mean, it's not the same thing, but it's like it can mimic it for 1 turn. And then we're playing 2 Shiki, which just doesn't come up a lot. I think it's the least, what is it called? It's the least important of the 2Ks. So 10 2Ks in total. And then we're playing 2, the weak do not have the right to choose how they die. And the reason we're playing this, guys, is for 3 things. One, if you have to, when you play this, you have to scream it at the top of your lungs because it, 1, intimidates the other player, and then 2, when you have 5 dawn up, it makes the other player act like their turn is completely different. Like this is the ultimate, like this and sugar are the ultimate like bad player punishers, because if they don't know what this card does, or if they missequence their attacks, like they're going to like, their turn is screwed. Like their turn is just done, right? Also, the trigger is pretty decent too, but it just never came up. The third reason is this is an activate main. A lot of times we just don't have a lot of like turn 3 plays, like 5 or 6 dawn, unless we have like Brook and Nami available. And this is basically for like the yellow matchup, or even like against like Crocodile. Because if they play like a Pacifista or a I'm sorry, like a Sentimaru, or if they play like what is it called, a 6/8 Pero Sparrow, the vanilla, the one without an effect, you can use this on your main and you can just KO the Pero Sparrow for free. It is just really good, and yeah, I like it a lot. So especially when I yell it. I was able to yell it twice today at locals, and it felt great. And then we're playing 3 Bagua. I'm definitely gonna make some changes to this. I like Bagua a lot, but I don't know. I might not cut Bagua because 3 was good, but I definitely want to add 1 Spiderweb. I'm only playing 3. I definitely want another one. This is the most important card in the deck when it comes to defense, and I feel like I need 4 to kind of maximize Luffy, the blocker. Then we're playing double Punk Gibson. I think the guy, what is his name, Awaken TCG, said it when he won with his regional list. People play around Punk Gibson. The only thing that they can't play around is the trigger, which is great. Like the trigger is great, but I don't like want to rely on triggering it. And people just play around it. Like they play their blockers after they already attack. Like it very rarely actually gets its second effect off. And if it does, like they're just gonna like, it basically gets out of a 5K swing because they're not gonna play heavily into the Punk Gibson, if that makes sense. So yeah, those are my events. I'm playing 10 total, or I think 12 total, maybe 3. No, I'm playing 10 total. Yeah. I definitely want to up that though. And then this is the card I'm going to take out. Is, guys, I love Guild Tsuru. I think it's really good. But in this variant of the deck, we want to play very, very, very aggressive. And I found that like this was just like never coming up. Like on the turns where like I wanted to play it, it just felt like the wrong play at the time. And I want to make sure that my plays are like the most optimal possible. And every time I wanted to play it, it just like wasn't, I don't know, it just wasn't viable, I guess. I don't know. It sounds kind of weird because it's a great card. It's literally a draw 2 for free, and it's a body, and it's a searchable body. But this is what I want to cut for now and just see how it plays without it, to make more space for other cards. But I'm playing the standard like film engine with the 4 Luffys. I'm only playing 3 Uta. I might cut an Uta as well, guys. Uta just hasn't been that good for me personally. Every time I'd want to play Uta, I'd just like rather play something else. But of course, like a blocker is like still very important to this deck because it is still a defensive deck at the end of the day, right? It's defensive with some offensive capabilities. So 3 Uta, might cut that to 2. I'm not entirely sure yet. And then we are playing 4 Brook. Now, the reason we are playing 4 Brooks is because the 2 best decks right now are Crocodile and Katakuri, in my opinion, right? Those are the 2 best decks. And Katakuri loses to aggression, right? It loses to a very wide board. And then Crocodile loses to aggression. It loses to a very wide board because it can only get rid of 1 character per turn, right? So when you're playing Brook, and then you're playing its targets, which are 4 Baccarat and then 2 Usopp. The reason we're playing 4 Baccarat instead of 4 Usopp is because Baccarat is hotter, and I don't like Usopp that much. But yeah, so when Brook can play this, as well as 4 Namis, it feels like you have so many targets in the deck, and you're just like constantly like spitting out like 2 to 3 characters per turn. And like your opponent can't keep up with that many 5k swings. Like they really can't. And the best part is like not only like against I was talking to my friend about this earlier at locals, but not only like when you play against Zoro, like Zoro is very aggressive and can get in a lot of like 5k swings, but like they're guaranteed to die the next turn, right? Like Dodon's most likely going to die, Buggy's most likely going to die, Magra's most likely going to die anytime they turn sideways. These are not guaranteed to die. These, like, you can spiderweb them, you can block with Luffy and restand. Like there's a lot of ways to protect these characters, and not only do they keep taking like cards out of your opponent's hand, but Nami can keep searching. And then you have cards like I guess Nami's really the only like recursion other than Guild Tsuru, who we're probably going to cut for a little bit, but like it just feels like you have so many answers, and like with your blockers, with your events, it feels like you can keep them on the board for a very long time. And when you can keep them on the board for a long time, you put your opponent on a clock. And like I said, when you put your opponent on a clock, you're pretty much always winning. So I'm playing a total of 10 targets for the Brook. I've really been liking this engine a lot, and I think it's been playing very well. And then my also, in addition to the weak do not have the right to choose how they die, I'm playing 3 Rush Kaidos. So guys, ideally this deck wants to go first, but it can go any curve. So if you're playing against yellow, you always go second. If you're playing against black, you always go second. But against Crocodile, you steal their first. Against against Law, you steal their second. You can literally play anything, because like I said, you can play Nami on curve, you can play like a lot of different cards on curve, you can play Luffy on curve while searching with Nami, but ideally, if you do go first, this card, if you go like Brook into Nami or Baccarat or whatever, if you go Baccarat, pass, and then you go like Brook into Nami, search, pass, Luffy into Brook into Baccarat, pass, and then you have 5 characters on the board, maybe 4 if they take one down. Next turn you're at 9 down, you slam Rush Kaido down, and you have like 4 or 5 like 5 to 7k attacks, and then you have this 9k swing. So it's like it puts an unbelievable amount of pressure on your opponent, and it's almost suffocating. Like it's almost that like strong. Like I'm not gonna lie to you guys, 3 of my games I finished with 3 life, because they keep trying to take down the Baccarats and they keep trying to take down the Brooks, and then like the whole time you're blocking or like countering for very efficient Dawn, and like they can only like justify playing, like the best they can do is like a 7k swing at a character, and if you can just like spiderweb out of that, or like if they do like a 6k swing, if you block with Luffy and then like they play the rest of their Dawn to play a character, like they're losing so hard because you're keeping your characters alive for free pretty much, or very Dawn efficient ways, and you're just like slamming them with 5k 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 10k, and then on the turn where you don't have anything to play, all those characters you have on the board, they turn into 7ks, right? And then you go 7 at life, 7 at life, 7 at life, 7 at life, and it's just like it's so overwhelmingly suffocating. And all the games that I played played today just felt so good, because that's just all I did was the entire game I was doing that. And anytime they went to clear the board, I would just counter out. And then the second they got to clear they got to clear like a character or two, that I'd just replace them with like Luffy, Brook, into Nami again, like the next turn. Like it was just really good. It was really good. And then we're playing 2 Doflamingo. The only reason we're playing 2 is because we are still, like, one, it's a really good card, but ideally you want to go Kaido, because like you want to play Kaido on curve to like basically keep the pressure up and keep keep up the tempo. And when you Kaido, you're gonna Dawn -5. You'll be at either 6 or 7 Dawn the next turn. So it's gonna be like a very, very unlikely that you're gonna be able to play Doffy for like the rest of the game. But on turns where you have both of them, you just go Doflamingo first and then lock them, and then the next turn you just go Kaido and like swing really tall. So it comes in handy. Like if you draw both these, it's not bad. You just have to play the Doflamingo first, or a lot of the times, or you can just like slam down Kaido, don't use his effect, and then play Doffy the next turn. But I mean, both are like valid strategies. But yeah, guys, that's my list, and I hope I kind of explained why I think this deck is probably one of the best decks in the game right now. It is just so good, and I want to hear y'all's thoughts, and I will see you guys on my next video. Peace.